today's video, I have an Aiwa cassette deck. This one here is what's the model number on this thing here? It's an ADF 370. This is an HX Pro. So it's got Dolby B, C, and HX Pro, which was a headroom extension. So you got Dolby B and C, and you got a record, play, repeat, off, and a record for timer. Soft touch controls. Don't know if it works. Haven't checked it out yet. My light is just warming up. That's why the color is changing here. We're going to check this thing out and see whether this cassette deck works. And this will be a nice piece to sell if it is in good shape. Look at the front of this thing. Nice deck. Use a bit of cleaning up, but let's get the top off it and inspect it and check the belts and stuff out on it before I even tried to use it. Looking at the inside of this is a solenoid controlled mechanism. You've got a couple of solenoids, one on either side of the mechanism here. This is going to control cams that are going to raise and lower the head. I can already see that this belt over here, which is for the tape counter, is pretty much melted to it's shot. Capstan belt probably is also bad. I haven't even looked at that one yet. I'm just looking at the actual mechanism on here, and this looks to be not a bad little mechanism. Looks very similar to the design that Sony used on a lot of their decks. It's got a Matsushita made motor for it, which was quite common. They were a large supplier of DC motors. Okay, first of all, the belt is shot. If I try turning on the power, watch what happens with the flywheel down here. Motor's running, but the flywheel is not turning. The belt is slipping. So we need a new capstan belt to start. So I don't know whether I've got one of these or not. I'll have to take the mechanism apart to see it. So let's take the mechanism out of the cabinet so that I can check and see if I've got the belt. To do that, I open up the cassette compartment and I remove the face of the door just by lifting it up. That removes this portion so that I should be able to lift the whole. I don't know whether this one comes out. I think this one I have to just pull the back piece out. Some of them the entire deck lifts out. I think this is not one of those. I leave the door open and I should be able to remove the red screws and remove the actual deck itself and lift the deck out and separate it from the plastic. All these units are a little different in the way that they're built. To prep the deck for removal, we're going to take out these screws on the side, one on each side, and then I should be able to lift the whole front piece off. Separate the face from the metal chassis. That will make it a little bit easier to separate the deck. Okay, we're going to unplug the connector on the top here, and we'll unplug is that a ground? Oh, that's actually held on with a screw, the ground wire. So we'll leave that on for now. I'm just loosening off a couple of the connectors, or a couple of the wire clamps here to get some slack. And then I'll remove this red screw so I can remove this ground wire. Of course, this is not a number 2 screw. It's number 1 screw. Let's remove the first red screw that holds the mechanism on, that holds the ground screw as well. And now I'm able to swing the unit free. Now I can get at the rest of the mechanism to remove the remaining 3 red screws, and then I'm able to lift the mechanism out. So I'll proceed to remove the other red screw up top here. And they're different size screws as well. Now if I press the eject button to open the door, I can then lift the deck assembly out and remove the belt that has turned to mush. Now I can work on the deck separately. I can set these pieces aside, and if I wanted to remove the actual deck, I could unplug the head wires over here and cut that zap tie and then work on the deck separately. Let's take the mechanism apart and see if I've got a belt that will fit it. To take apart the mechanism, we have 1 screw in either side that needs to come out. And then the bracket assembly with the belt and the motor will lift off. As you can see, the belt is actually threaded around this other pulley up here and then around the flywheel. So we take the belt off and take it off the pulley. Just loop it over top of the pulley like that, and it should come out. And here is our belt that is turned to mush. I will see if I can find one that'll fit that. I might get lucky, but I'm betting that I don't have one. I'll show you how these mechanisms operate on these units. When the motor is spinning, it's turning the flywheel this direction. And to change modes are all controlled by these cam gears here and these solenoids. So when you depress a button to change modes, the solenoid will kick and it will make 1 rotation of the gear. And this one I believe is putting pause on and removing pause, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just see what it does here. So as it rotates, if I cycle that cam, okay, this is the switch between like fast forward and rewind and stop. If I cycle the other cam, the other one will raise the head up. So it pulls in, and the head will raise up, and when that solenoid releases, the head will drop. So the head pulls up, and then the second solenoid will kick in, and I believe that one is the one that releases the pinch roller, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, it's timing of the 2 cam gears here. This one raises and lowers the head, and this one releases and the pinch roller and switches modes for fast forward and rewind. You can see, if we watch this pulley here as it moves, you'll see this one moving back and forth. See, that's the switch between fast forward and rewind. And when I activate this other solenoid, which activates this cam gear here, this is the one that will raise the head, and it'll hold the head now in play. And then when the power is released from the solenoid, the head goes back down for stop. So So play, stop. If you can visualize that working. Here, I'll try and turn it around so you can see what goes on. So when the solenoid engages, that causes this cam gear to turn, and it raises the heads to the play position. And then when this solenoid releases, that cam gear now retracts the head. That's how this mechanism operates. And there are little switches that determine what position the mechanism is in, but it's a pretty simple and quite well designed system. I'm still looking for a belt that I can use on this one. I don't have the exact size, and in order to fix this thing properly, I really do need to find the exact size belt, or one that's a little bit smaller, and it should be a flat belt. Although I could get away with putting in a square belt. I do have a square belt here that probably will get the job done for demonstration purposes, but before I would sell this unit, I would definitely get the right belt. So let's try and put this square belt in, just to see if I can make the mechanism work. I don't have one for the tape counter, so I'd have to get a belt for that too, but let's try putting this square belt in to see whether I can actually make this thing work. So you guys can see how this thing goes, how this thing works. So I get the belt in behind here, and I have to get it in. I have to get it in on the back side of this pulley. So I thread the belt around this, and then I should be able to get it to go around this other pulley. And then bring the motor in place. Okay, I've now got the belt around, and I just have to get the motor back in and pull it around the motor shaft here. Again, I guess what I gotta do is I gotta get my pulley in here, kind of hook the belt in, and then I'll pull it around the pulley initially, like that, and then I'll slide the whole mechanism back into place and lock it in with the belt already looped around. That seems to make things a little bit easier. Actually, it makes things a whole lot easier just to do that, like that, loop that in, lock that in like that, and then drop it in like that, and then put the screws back in. So there, learn something new. If you put the mechanism together first and try to loop the belt over the pulley, you're on the risk of knocking the belt off the flywheel. Okay, now the belt is on. As you can see, everything's spinning as it's supposed to. You can see the pulley turning up top and the motor's turning. So we just drop the mechanism back in like that. The two larger screws go in the bottom, the red screws, and the two smaller ones go in the top. Now remember, the screw over here, this is the grounding screw, so don't put that one in just yet. Got to a couple plugs to line up on here. There's a plug here, another plug over there, which is going to line up with connectors on the main front board. You get everything lined up, they should just pop together and should not be a problem with alignment as long as you get all the pins lined up before shoving it together. There are alignment guides that go into the circuit board here, that the board slides into, right along in here, here, and here. There are alignment points, there are guides there that will line the board up so that the connectors properly align and plug in just like that, and it snaps together. Okay, the last screw for the ground can go in here. Now you can take this thing out without taking out the whole mechanism too. You should be able to actually lift this out without taking the faceplate off. I just did it to make it a little easier to see. But if you've got a small screwdriver, you can get in here. You should be able to remove these red screws. If you've got a short screwdriver, you should be able to remove these red screws without actually having to take the whole front faceplate off. I did it just to make it a little easier to see what was going on. And then we have the one connector I disconnected that goes up onto the top here. And this unit should be ready to power up and check out. And I guess it has to actually have a tape in it before it's going to operate the mechanism. Okay, let's clean the heads on this thing. So we're just going to get in here, and as you can see, this head looks like it's quite dirty actually. Of course, a little too close, but yeah, that head does look like it's quite badly contaminated. So we'll get in here with the Q-tip and the alcohol, and we'll clean it. Yeah, I would say that was dirty. Head looks to be in good shape other than the fact that it's dirty. It passes the finger test. If you guys know what the finger test is, that's where you take your fingernail and you run it over the surface of the head. And if it snags on the wear point, then the head is getting worn out. This one doesn't snag, so there's no groove on there yet. We'll clean the erase head. And we'll also clean the capstan shaft and the controller down on the bottom here. And this is not the easiest machine to clean either. There's a lot easier machines to clean than this one, but it's not bad. Okay, now we got a fair bit of dirt off the head on this thing. Let's load a tape and see if it'll play. I'm just as interested as you guys as to whether this thing will play. I don't think there's anything recorded on that side of the tape. Let's go to the other side here and try this. Yeah, sounds good. Let's check out the speed. I'll go get my speed tape and my guitar tuner and we'll check out the speed of this thing. Remember, this is not the correct belt on here, so it'll be interesting to see how good it is. I'm probably going to get in trouble for doing this, but here's my experience with Maxell batteries. They're crap. These are the batteries that was in my little guitar tuner, and as you can see, they corroded. So I've got a new set. Hopefully it's not beyond repair, because the batteries did leak quite badly inside it. Got my test tone tape here. Let's see how it works. Lots of wound flutter on this machine. See if I can speed that up a bit. I'm just going to show you something. This has got 4 wires going to the motor. This is not the speed control. The speed control is actually a little pot that's on the board. It's accessed through a hole in the back of the board. It's right there. So a little yellow pot. If you look down through the top here, you'll see it right there. That's the speed control on this unit. So if the motor's got 4 wires, it's a not a servo motor, but it's a multi-speed motor that was used in like the high-speed dubbing decks and so forth, where you could have 2 speeds, and it's set with an external control. So we'll just adjust that. Get our speed bang on for the note A. Yes, we have a fair bit of wound flutter there. That's more than likely, that wound flutter is more than likely from the incorrect belt that's on there. But again, before I dispose of this unit, I would definitely be changing that belt. Let's listen to some music. The Irish Rovers, why not? Sounds good to me. Yep, it works. Good enough. Should we do a test recording on it? Should we or not? Let's do a test recording. Okay, we're gonna really make a quick recording here. I don't want to leave this running too long because you know what'll happen with YouTube, right? So we'll just shut the volume off here while I make a recording. I'll let this record for a couple minutes here. I'm just making a recording for my mini disc, and I'll turn out the light so you guys can see the LED meter here because it's pretty bright in the studio right now. So we'll kill the studio light. That thing does put out a lot of light. Okay, we're making our recording. We'll play it back and we'll see how it sounds. Sounds pretty good. Now, I'd have to say it's working, and all the functions are working. There's pause. And I'll show you how the mechanism works on this thing. We'll just turn the sound down here so I don't have to worry about pulling a copyright violation. Let you guys watch the mechanism. I don't know what you're going to see here, but let me put it through its paces. So we're in pause now. And when I release the pause, you can see which cam is turning. It's the one on the left. You can see the shadow there. So that's the cam that's turning for that. If I stop it, it's the cam on the right. Okay. This one here is operating now for play. To go into rewind, it's the one on the left. You see? And the same with fast forward, it's the one on the left. Looking at it from the back, the one on the right from the front. So this cam over here is controlling the fast forward, the rewind, and are releasing the pinch roller and engaging the pinch roller. When I go into play, just this one over here operates. If I go into pause, then the one on the other side operates. Where is it? There, that one. Now if I'm in play and I want to go to search, if I hold the fast forward for search, you see, when I release it, it goes back to play. So it's still operating on the same cam for fast forward or search forward. Same with search back. And stop. That's how you change a belt on one of these Sony-made Aiwa. And this is a Sony deck, by the way. This is a Sony. Absolutely. I don't remember the model number offhand, but I fixed lots of these at the Sony service facility. this Aiwa. Well, everybody knows, right? Aiwa was a sister company to Sony, in case you didn't know. Aiwa and Sony were like that. They were separate companies owned by the Sony Corporation, and products were released under the Aiwa brand, in different markets and slightly different models. There were some Sony models that were released that were almost identical but not quite to the Aiwa equivalent, and vice versa, and they were released in different markets. It was just different marketing, but they were both made by the same company, both made by Sony Corporation. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.